maybe introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and maybe a little bit about your background. Where are you from?
All right. I'm Chrissy Kavanagh, and as you said, I oversee marketing and guest strategy for all the brands, which is really exciting. And I am a Florida girl. I'm from Brandon, so born and raised here in the state of Florida, and grew up shopping at Bealls Florida, the Brandon Bealls Florida store. So when it got remodeled this year, I was super excited. And, grew up in a really dynamic household, I would say, but my parents were much older than I was. So from a generational perspective, I had close to the silent generation parents. So, and they were very impacted by that. So and my brother's 15 years older than me. So like a multi-generational household, lots of diversity there. And, my dad's side of the family is Cuban, and my mom's side of the family is Irish and Italian. So just kind of a mud of all the things,
cool.
all the different aspects, and went to college at the University of Florida, which
tough weekend.
Oh yeah, so horrific. But I love that team no matter what.
Yep.
And I would say, for me, the most change personally, a lot of change happened in college.
Okay.
For myself, I was just very much conservative in high school, not sheltered by any means. And I grew up in really diverse schools as well, diverse populations. And, when I was younger, they bussed us out to Tampa for middle school. So we got a good variety of people in our schools. But I was just very shy and not very confident. And so, I had a roommate at the University of College, and she's like, we went to go out one night, and I was like putting on some Old Navy pants. She's like, what are you doing? You can't wear that out. And just like small things like that just really helped my growth there. And then I started working at Bealls right out of college.
Right out of college. Cool. Yeah.
So this has been my career from the get-go.
Yep. What'd you major in?
I majored in marketing.
Okay. All right. Well, you're in the right spot then.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I got in the right spot eventually.
Right.
But really have enjoyed, had a very broad career at Bealls for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Very good. Yeah. So you started off in merchandising then, right? And what were you when you came out of college?
I was kind of an assistant buyer.
Okay.
And I worked in the ladies resort office, which, Bealls Florida does an amazing resort business. And it's kind of one of those things, the word buyer can be seen as very glamorous, and you kind of come in and you're like, what is it really? And then you get into, back then we were handwriting our order sheets. Back then, like 20 years ago, we were handwriting our order sheets.
Right.
And I got really excited about lime green tops and lime green matching pants that had elastic waist because they were selling, and it was amazing. So it kind of showed me, okay, this isn't about what you like. This isn't about what you think is cool. This is about what your guest likes.
Right.
And it was so interesting how fast that started to come naturally, understanding and wanting to provide our guests with what they wanted, even as a buyer. That's really is what it's all about. And it just comes very naturally when you start seeing any type of reporting that we have. When you start going into the stores, you're like, oh, I get it, kind of.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the audience should know that's not every one of our guests, but that's the guest in the area that you were buying.
In the resort area that I purchased. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. So you enjoyed that experience. You were there for a few years.
I was in the ladies area for about a year and a half, which at that time there was kind of, you trained across buying and planning, and you spent some time in the stores. So I spent a little more time in the buying offices than was normal back then.
Yep.
And then I went out to the store I was kind of like an assistant manager, I think, at that point.
Nice.
I learned so much in the store.
This was the early mid 2000s?
Early 2001.
Yeah. Okay.
2002. Yeah.
Cool. Yep.
So went to the stores and then went into planning. So I was kind of in the merchandise world for 15 years, but it was about 4 years before I became a buyer.
Yep. So you've been here 22 years. Yeah, we have a lot of long-term people here for sure. Yeah.
I sit in rooms where I'm the youngest still.
Yeah,
oh, you've only been here 22 years. Like I've been here 22 years. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah, that's right. I remember you were here when I got here. I've been here 19 and a half years now. So I'm 20s next year. But well, cool. Okay. So yeah, I remember coming over, and we've worked together for a long time. So I was at Bealls Outlet. It was called Bealls Outlet at that time, back in 2015 or 14 or so.
Yeah, right around then.
Yeah. And then came over to Bealls Florida, which was Bealls department stores back in those days. And Remember coming over from being a DMM, a divisional merchandising manager over men's and kids, and came over here to be a divisional merchandising manager in men's, and you were one of the buyers that reported up to me. So that was really cool. I learned a lot from you. You were always exceptional as it related to processes and procedures and just making sure that things were done accurately and correctly. And you definitely were an excellent buyer that I was able to learn a lot from personally. So it was fun to work with you. And we worked together for how many years as a buyer DMM?
I think for about 3 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yep. And then when was it that you went into marketing?
It was around 2016.
Okay.
That I went into marketing.
Okay.
In that opportunity, just in the men's division, I did a lot of the marketing because I liked marketing. Like I really thought about how it drove my business. I would get really passionate when somebody pulled something of mine out of an ad, which was probably sometimes the right decision, but I would always, go in and kind of argue my point. And so a position opened up in marketing, and I was honestly kind of hesitant to go because when you see resumes or not resumes, job descriptions, and you can't check all the boxes, you only check some of the boxes, it's that confidence that I started to gain at UF. I didn't get all the way there.
Right.
I wasn't sure that I was qualified.
Life is over, yeah.
So, but you were so encouraging for me to take another role at that time. And equally, the chief marketing officer at the time, Jesse, was really supportive of me learning something new. And so that was a really great opportunity for me. And I think once I got there, I was like, oh, this is home. But I felt like buying was my home when I was there. And I loved being a buyer. It was just time to kind of do something different and something new.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. So from assistant buyer to vice president in, 20 years and change. So
I know.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
Pretty cool. How has marketing changed at Bealls over the years? What have you noticed in terms of changes?
Oh my goodness. How has it not changed over the years is kind of the more important question. I think, as I mentioned in men's, I was very passionate about protecting my business. And it really, the more promotional you are, the harder it gets to kind of keep the track of being promotional. You always have to go bigger and better. And at the end of the day, if you're selling the right product and you're giving the guest what he or she wants, you shouldn't have to be that promotional. If you really provide amazing service and great product at great values, and value is different to everybody. Value doesn't mean cheap. Value just means this shirt is worth this amount of money. And I think we've taken more and more steps to get there. And I mean, some of them were really big steps and some of them were smaller steps. But I would say, we used to do 80% of our marketing budget was spent on newspaper. Well, that's just not viable anymore. So not only has the messaging changed, but equally the media mix is completely different. And that, I would say,
super digital.
Yeah. And, our guest is embracing the digital channels. And we maybe took a little longer to get there than we should have because we weren't sure if they would, but they do. So it's just, it's night and day from when I started from all aspects. Yeah.
And when you look at Bealls Florida and you look back to the early 2000s, the mid to late 90s into the early 2000s, you have a promotional model that's super department store, super high-low, where you're marking goods up by, whatever, mid 60%, sometimes higher, and you're promoting it down to 45% or so. And so that was always the game for department stores and for Bealls Florida. And, sale. And so that drove back then. That's what people wanted. They liked coupons and they liked sales and they liked that kind of the thrill of knowing when the sales were happening and getting in the store at the right time. Today, seems like people just want to shop on their own time. People want to be able to shop when they want to shop. They want to shop how they want to shop, and they don't want to have to. People are busier. They don't want to have to keep up with, all the different promotions that are happening. And so, I think one of the nice things that you've done is transition us to being a much more, along with the many members of the team, transition us to being a much more everyday value type of an operation where we don't have those high-low sales anymore. We're not up and down, and so you know what you're going to get when you come into a Bealls. You're going to get great value, and you're going to find it across the store or in a Bealls Florida. So that's been a nice change. I think that there's still people out there who are like, well, I don't shop at Bealls because I don't know when the sales are going to be, you know, and I don't know when the promotions are going to be, and I don't want to get tricked and then, you know that I would have paid a lower price a week later or 2 weeks later. But, you know, thankfully, because of a lot of the changes that marketing that you've been able to make, that doesn't happen anymore. You know, and so it's nice to be at a place where guests can come in and know that they're going to get a great deal anytime they want to shop with us.
Absolutely. And it's every guest. I think when we were so promotional, it was only honestly a small portion of our guests that really understood how to unpack all the savings. And so we had a significant number of guests, especially new guests coming in our stores, that weren't getting what, I mean, I don't want to say they weren't getting what they deserved, but we could have given them better value. And we didn't. And so the kind of where we've been moving is, you know, every guest that shops us is important. And we want every guest to get, you know, great product and be able to find what they want. And when you are so high-low, that becomes very challenging. And it's not just that people are busy, it's that people really don't place a ton of importance on couponing. And we see that across competitors. We see that everywhere. Different things are important now.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the loyalty program and kind of how that's changing. But I know that you have a lot of fun projects that you're working on right now. So I wanted to talk to you maybe about a couple of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this localized remodel, I guess that's what we're calling it, or just localization at the store level is a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting off with
super fun.
Roswell, New Mexico being the first. You want to talk a little bit about that one?
Sure. So I think, you know, you really inspired the Roswell, New Mexico kind of localization. And we have a lot of stores in a lot of different states. And some of these stores are in communities that have these amazing stories to tell or amazing things that their community connects with. And Roswell is really a huge example of that with kind of the UAP and extraterrestrial. So we really concepted Roswell, New Mexico, and I have to give our DVP of brand and creative strategy some credit because, again, how do we do this? We don't know. We don't know how do we do this today? We have no idea. But she found some amazing partners to concept for us and really found a phenomenal partner here locally, which was also incredible, to help us really bring this to life and be able to tell the story in Roswell. And we just think the community, it's going to be very exciting when we get this. Hopefully, the goal is the end of this month.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, we're using a local company and they've done work with other people. They've worked, I think, with Disney. Is that right?
They've worked with Disney and Universal, and they do a lot with the gaming community and theme parks. So they really were right in this wheelhouse of being able to do this for us. And they understand inside and outside and the types of qualities to use in the structures that they're creating. So it's been really exciting. And to walk in their warehouse and see like Super Mario Brothers mushrooms and things like that was so very cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So walk us through, what are we looking at in terms of the store here that we're going to have in Roswell?
So in Roswell, we are going to have the spaceship and the aliens both inside and outside. So you can see it kind of disrupts the exterior of the store, and that flows into the inside of the store. So they'll be both exterior and interior. And then this location, which is not super normal for us, but it happens to be in a mall. So inside the mall entrance, we'll have a timeline that kind of shares a lot of what's gone on in Roswell and the findings from different research. And we'll have, along with the timeline, some aliens there as well, which we think people will love and can really interact with there.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. This one is near and dear to my heart. I've been following this topic since I was a kid. So it's this one's exciting. A lot of history in Roswell, New Mexico, for sure. So we're excited about that one. We've got a couple of more.
Absolutely. Right. Well, we have 11 on the list, but we won't go through all 11 of those today.
Fair, yep.
But Rockwall is coming up next. So this is a new store that we're opening, and we has a story of this huge limestone structure that's underground, and it's kind of a encasing, like it's a fence, but it's almost a rectangle, and it's massive, and it's 7 feet high. And in that town,
5 miles long or something like that.
Yes.
Estimated.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so, there's a lot of research and conversation around how was it created and where was it created, because it's really under the earth. Mm-hmm. So really exciting to have this. This one's kind of in progress. So we do have some limestone on a feature wall in this store, but we are still working on where and how do we tell the story inside the store. So that'll probably come after it opens as we still develop this plan.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, worth noting that that's obviously how Rock Wall got its name, because of this urban legend, or whatever you want to call it. It's a very interesting topic, interesting theory. I have no idea, but I think it's a really cool urban legend and a really cool story that town has, and hopefully it inspires people to understand it a little bit more, to look into it, and maybe potentially do a little bit more scientific research on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good. What other ones do we have?
So the next exciting one we have coming up is in Gallipolis, West Virginia, and this is the Mothman. And really, we were very lucky that our store manager there, Dustin, actually did a paper on the Mothman in high school. So we kind of rejuvenated that.
Dustin Russell.
Yep. And it's really great that this is not just a, hey, marketing, what ideas can you come up with? You really open this up to the organization to say, tell us what makes your town special. And people are giving us some wonderful ideas to put and connect with in our stores. So Dustin really presented this whole story to us about Mothman and what it means to this town. And he really validated that, because sometimes you can feel like, okay, how many people in the town really know about Mothman? He's like, everybody in the town knows about the Mothman. Like, I'm validating for you that this is a good idea. Yeah. So it was really great to hear from him, and he walked us through his research. Because this happened a long time ago, the research didn't change. So there's not new findings. So the size of the Mothman, and we hope to impact our store here, both inside and outside, similar to how we're doing in Roswell with an ode to the Mothman.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, this one's an interesting one too. We don't, who knows? A lot of sightings, a lot of urban legends and myths, potentially bridge collapse where he was said to have been spotted on it that was killed a bunch of, 4 dozen people or something along those lines. But yeah, the town is very, very into this one, very interested in it. Like you said, 25,000 people show up every year for it. And it gets bigger and bigger every year. Yeah. But it's been fascinating people since the 60s. And we think it's cool. We're going to be a part of it. And then we have some less conspiracy theory type remodels as well, right? We've got peanuts and strawberries and onions.
So Plant City right here, in Florida is kind of the strawberry capital of the world. Our store in Dothan, Alabama is the peanut capital of the world. And that town embraces the peanut. Like, there's peanuts everywhere in that town. So we really think our guests will connect with that. And then equally Vidalia, Georgia, we're the home of the Vidalia onion. So really looking at some creative ways, and the marketing team is super pumped about these to really understand how to impact, because every store is going to be a little bit different. Not every store is going to have, giant spaceships and interior and exterior impact, but these stores that are being identified as opportunities are going to have impact.
Yep. So. Yeah, good. What else is happening? What else is really interesting in your world right now, in the marketing world? What else is happening throughout the business?
I think throughout the business, really for us, the rebranding, which is just gigantic. So Bealls rebranding to Bealls Florida, which, Bealls has always kind of been Bealls Florida. Our website is beallsflorida.com. But that just making sure that we're telling the story correctly and that we are making it clear to our guests the rebranding that's occurring.
Hopefully it helps people say Bealls department stores less often.
Yes, absolutely. We've been working on that one since I started in marketing, pretty much. Right. But really for formerly Bealls Outlet and Burke's Outlet, the rebranding is just
to
Bealls is just ginormous. And I think the team's having a lot of fun with that. And really the goal, to elevate that brand. And I think the merchants have been on this for a long time. We have amazing product and our guests love it, but we're not an outlet. And Bealls doesn't get Bealls Florida leftovers. And I think clarifying that and telling that story really clearly is going to be phenomenal for our guests. So the marketing team has been working really hard on that rebranding. And we did start with the exterior of our buildings first. So marketing is really in progress and in process to continue to tell this. And of course, the marketing piece will go on forever and ever. But really excited about that.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's an exciting one. And really, it fits into this whole theme of elevating the guest experience, and so when we talk about that, it's, we like you mentioned, we've started with the external part of the store with the signs and obviously moving inside. We've been elevating the guest experience over time, but it hasn't been a specific top focus necessarily. We've been focused on other things, but I think with that in mind, it's only going to lead to fantastic things. And,
absolutely,
we've been elevating the brands that we have in specifically Bealls, but both chains, Bealls and Bealls Florida. And I think the inside of the little touch-ups that we're doing in terms of the remodel will just really clean up all of the stores as well really nicely. So the changes to how we communicate with the guest in the stores and pushing less credit card focused and just having it be a genuine, authentic person-to-person experience is kind of what we're going after in stores as well. So a lot of that should really culminate into a tremendous guest experience go forward. And we love our guests, so it's nice to show them let them know that we love them.
We do. Yeah. We do. We love our guests, and our guests really love us. And, I think that the focus on that has never been bigger. We've always known about our guests, but both from a data perspective, we now know more about our guests, not in a creepy way, but we know, a lot more than we used to. So we should be elevating their experience, and we know more about what they want, what they like, what they want to see from us. And so it's just an amazing way to be able to bring all that together. And I think, there's a lot of exciting things, but one of the other big exciting things that we're working on is our loyalty program. Yeah. And rebranding that. And rebranding is kind of what inspired us to look at the loyalty program. But the second we looked at it, we were like, we need to make this easier for our guests. We are having things that are not easy, that are not equitable. As I mentioned, we want every guest to get an amazing experience and every guest to get a great value. And so we had to take a hard look at that, and we did it very quickly. But I think sometimes when you do things quickly, you get to, if everybody agrees like that, you're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you want to walk us through some of the changes?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. So, really what we did was we want to reward our guests more. And so with that, we changed what in mathematical terms we call the earn rate. So we used to earn at 2.5%. Now our guests earn at 5%, which means they earn twice as fast. So every $100 they spend, they're going to get 5% back, a $5 reward. And that piece, what that does for us, the number of guests that will receive this impact that were not before is millions. And that is incredible. To have a really rewarding rewards program. That's the goal of a rewards program. Right. And the birthday reward, we increased to 20%. This is your birthday month. We just wanted to, make sure that you feel special during that month and really feel inspired to come and shop with us. The expiration date, this is a really big one. Our rewards used to expire within 60 days. And, while we want to encourage our guests to come back quickly, not everybody can come back quickly. Mm-hmm. In both stores, we have a really large population of Florida guests, and within that we have a very large population of snowbirds. And so they were losing their rewards when they lost. Yes, they can use them online, but a lot of them, they love our stores. They love coming in our stores, the experience, the legendary guest experience. So in making it easier and enabling guests to shop when they want to shop, right, we extended that rewards program, that expiration date.
So in the past, you had to work really hard to get your reward up to 200 points, and your reward would expire after 60 days. And that's kind of industry standard, Yes. I mean, it's that we weren't far off from what everybody else was doing, but we really wanted to make this special and let the guests know that we wanted to make it about the guest and allow them to shop on their time when they wanted to shop. And so, and really make it impactful for them. So yeah, that year doesn't put stress on them, pressure on them to come back in any specific time. They can come back when they need to come back. The one thing that did change in addition to these was the Monday and Tuesday clubs.
Correct.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. So right now we have a Monday club on our Bealls store side and a Tuesday club on our Bealls Florida side. And we've had these for several years. And they used to be based on age. And we made the change several years ago that it was a rewards for our rewards guests. We just really wanted to make it equitable for all guests. So instead of offering 10% on Tuesdays and only Tuesdays or Mondays, we're doubling the way you earn rewards every day. And there's a ton of reasons for this, but we have stores that have a Bealls store and a Bealls Florida store right next to each other. And you can't shop them on the same day for the same level of discount. And, from my perspective, I always use the restaurants do kids night. I have no idea when Chick-fil-A's kids night is, but I always missed it. And I would always go the next day man, I got to pay full price for this kids meal that I'm getting. So, I think we just really want to enable our guests to shop when they want to shop, to earn rewards at a really fast rate and to give them the time that they need to redeem their rewards. We want to really simplify this program for them and make it equitable for everyone. And, I talked for me from a family perspective, but even my parents live in assisted living. Their bus does not travel to Bealls, Florida on a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So they're missing that discount too. So it's wide range from young to old. One day a week is not good enough. Right. We need to reward our guests every day.
Right. This kind of goes back to that elimination of that high-low promotional stuff and offering a great value every day and not telling the guests when they need to shop, letting them come in and shop whenever they want to shop, whether that's a Wednesday or a Thursday or Friday. It doesn't make any difference. And I guess for me, if I would miss a Monday or a Tuesday, I would feel like, oh, I'm paying 10% too much if I shop any other day. And I know you feel this way, and I feel this way, that it's just, we don't want to make our guests feel like that. And it's not really how a grown-up retailer, a national retailer acts. You don't see that. You don't see those clubs on, Mondays and Tuesdays for other national retailers. And so, with Bealls in 23 states and up to 600 stores right now, we're kind of putting our best foot forward, and it's time to move past a lot of that stuff and just let people know that they can come into the store anytime they want to come into the store and shop and find great deals. And so, we can now offer a better price every day in order to, but by not having to offer that discount once a week. And so hopefully it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think from my perspective, this is a win-win for our guests. And I know that some guests may not feel that way at first with the Tuesdays, but I have to believe that over a long period of time, it's going to be a relief and they're going to feel very rewarded.
Yep. Love it. Good. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a lot about business.
Yeah.
So, why don't we move on? I'm just curious, as we close things down here, I want to understand, or let the audience understand a little bit about, you've really grown up here. You've spent the last 22 years here. You've seen a lot of changes in the business. You've seen a lot of changes in yourself. Do you have any stories that could either summarize some of your time here, a story that might explain a little bit about you or your background or your culture or the culture at Bealls, or anything?
I think, for me, and I go back to the story and it's kind of irrelevant to anybody else but me, but when I joined Bealls, for my whole life, I've been a type 1 diabetic. And when I first became a buyer, I was really having some challenges with that because the travel schedule, I was not eating, I was skipping meals because I wanted to get to all my appointments and I wanted to do a lot of things. And I had a lot of challenges when I was traveling. And at the time, my boss, Jim Knapp, he called me in his office one afternoon and he's like, Chrissy, you are just way too young to let this derail your career. Like, how can we help you? He did not call me in his office and say, figure it out. He called me in his office and said, how can we help you? And Pam Meyer, who is in our Hall of Fame here at Bealls, she was a longtime person, sat down with me, with our insurance carriers, helped me find a doctor that was right for me. I personally, I don't know of any other company that would have treated me like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And for me, from a culture perspective, I could tell you 10 stories like that.
Awesome.
That had to do with different things.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Great group of people that we have here. I mean, they care about people for sure, but thank you for sharing that story. I want to move on before I cry, but that's awesome. What about any big learnings, any big, takeaways from, your time at Bealls? Like what would be either a huge lesson that you've learned here from somebody or just some big, some big aha moment or whatever it might be, anything that you could share with the audience?
I think has come from you, and not just in one, it wasn't an instance, it was in a setting, but you wrapped it up really nicely actually a few weeks ago when we touched base. And I have a habit of taking things super personal. It's about me. I did this, I caused this, I drove this. And you said a couple weeks ago, you're like, Chrissy, nobody looks at it and says, Chrissy's business is bad. They look at it and say, this business is bad. And, a few weeks ago when you said it, it was really impactful. But when I looked back on several meetings that I've had with you, that was laced through a lot of them. Cool. Like, you have to quit taking, not in a mean way, but this is not personal. Right. This is business. Like, dust yourself off and let's focus on what we can do.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's trying their best. Everybody's doing, the best that they can. A difficult, period of business or whatever in a specific area. If a specific area is struggling, that's just a great opportunity to learn and to get better and to figure out a way to make change happen. So it's really just life giving you opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. And
Absolutely.
maybe one last question for you before I let you out of here.
Okay.
What would be a great piece of advice that you might have for people that are starting off in this crazy business? Whether it's marketing or whether it's a corporate office or whether it's retail in general, you pick. But what type of advice would you have for a 22-year-old college kid who's getting into this world?
I might use a quote from my friend Ryan that says, "You need to calm down," like Taylor Swift. But I think especially young, you think you have to decide who you're going to be when you grow up. And people ask you that question all the time. What do you want to do when you grow up? Who are you going to be when you grow up? What do you want to? And man, if somebody had asked me that when I was 20 interviewing at Bealls, my answer would be completely different than where it is today. So my piece of advice is just enjoy the moment and make sure you are learning in the moment and not so worried about 2 years from now or 2 days from now or 4 weeks from now. Like, you have to just understand that you're going to be able to grow, but you don't need to plan that growth today.
Love it. Love it. Very cool. All right. Excellent. Well, it's great to chat with you.
It was great to chat with you.
Yeah. I appreciate your insight onto everything. And of course, appreciate the wonderful work that you're doing for the company.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate to have you here. And maybe we'll get you back on, in the future. We can recap some of this stuff. I know there's always great new ideas coming on the localized remodels. So we're going to continue pushing that forward. We'll know a lot more about this loyalty change, in a few months after we make that change. But I really appreciate your time, appreciate your insight, and appreciate you being here.
Great. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate being here.
Awesome. Okay. All right. That's a wrap.